Thoughts are racing, spinning fast. Ideas flow, but never last. Waves of wonder, thoughts untamed. Nothing ever stays the same. Rambling on, no straight lines. Welcome to my busy mind. Questions, answers, here they go. Digging deeper, let's start the show.
Welcome to Ramblings of a Busy Mind, episode 7. My guest today is Ronnie, and I can't say your last name. I wanted to ask you before, so you got to say that yourself.
Oh, it's easier than it looks. It's Loaiza. So think of LOA like a loaf of bread. Loaiza.
Loaiza. Okay.
Yeah.
So Ronnie and I met at a networking event, Connections, I think, was it? And
Did we meet in Connections or did we meet through this beautiful circle of listening?
that
Maybe
could be
Connections.
listening circle from Richard, who's going to be one of the guests later on.
Beautiful.
And I think we hit it off pretty much. I have had nice conversations with Ronnie already, and we just started our talk before we started recording about not listening to your body in burnout, which happened to me. I didn't listen. I knew better, and I didn't follow, or I should have known better, at least part way in, because 25 years is a long time to find out that you're in burnout, and then your body is actually talking to you, and you just ignore it. And you said you had experiences with your clients. You're working as a fitness personal trainer, you said, personal coach.
Well, here's the thing. I am now a life coach, a master professional life coach, and I work in all areas. But when I got into coaching, it was because of the pandemic, and I was helping people try to get back into working out and self-care, and they weren't making time for themselves. And I was a personal trainer at the time. So I would talk, I'm like, well, do you want me to talk to your friend, your boss, whoever? And so I would talk to them. And I always found out it wasn't like they were too busy to work out or they didn't know how to work out. You can look up YouTube videos or, go to a gym and figure it out or whatever. You can get exercises. But a lot of women, especially, intelligent, high powered working women, just one of two things. They were too afraid of losing their job, be furloughed at the time, or they just felt kind of self-conscious at home. That, it was a stressful time. We pulled our big girl pants up and took care of business, but still, that was just it. They weren't making time for themselves, or they felt a little self-conscious working out at home. So I would talk to them and we would figure it out. It was all about mindset, even though I was a personal trainer. And even when I was training pre-COVID, 90% of it was mindset. It really was to get you in there. And as I was telling you, I was sharing with you before we started recording, is people would come to me at the gym even before COVID. And it's like, it was always about, well, I want to lose this flab or I want to lose weight. But then as we started training and I would start finding out things that were either issues or keeping them from actually being in the fitness that they wanted to be. And for me, my mission was to help each single person be as fit as that person could be. And then we find out what you feel is fit. But a lot of people talk to me at the gym and then post-COVID about how about something that didn't feel right, a malaise or actual pain or migraines or this or that, actual physical pains. And let's say they would go to the doctor. And most of the doctors, and I was sharing with you, it's like, I'm far from male bashing. I love men and I love doctors. But most doctors just kind of prescribe something or would tell these women, okay, well, you're working a lot. So, you have to de-stress, relax, and get more rest and eat better. What? Or like a lot of people, they would tell me, okay, let's say they were actually diagnosed with something or they were prescribed something. And I would ask them, well, did you ask them why? No. I'm like, when I go to a doctor, I ask why and why, and I ask so many whys because I want to understand, not because I don't believe them. I want to understand. And I'm not one of those that self-diagnoses on the WebMD. I'm not. I'm really not. But you have to be able to feel comfortable. And there are so many people, very intelligent people who just go to the doctor, nod their head, and have that white coat syndrome. They just trust what they hear and they're afraid of taking up too much time. Or they're afraid to share that they have other people that they go to, like a functional medical doctor, like they're afraid to insult the regular doctor,
Mm.
or they're afraid to say, well, my chiropractor said, or, and I'm like the type that whoever you go to, it's your choice, your life, your body, whether it's your manicurist, your massage therapist, your functional medicine, your herbalist, whatever, they're make them your team. But a lot of people, especially women, are afraid to mention something that they think, and this is what I've been told. Well, my doctor's going to roll her eyes or roll his eyes if I tell him I go to this herbalist, or I depend on Reiki, and that should, and I love that, or yoga, or whatever. And I'm like, well, maybe that's the wrong doctor if they're not going to be part of your team, or you're going to be afraid to speak up.
I hear you there. I went when I there's so many things that you just tied into. When I first came to Canada, I was before prescribed thyroid medication.
Mhm.
And my father was a veterinarian, my mom was a pharmaceutical sales rep. So I've come out of that modern medicine world. But my father always used before I was born, he used homeopathics a lot in his
Mhm.
office. So I knew a little bit more about that. And the interesting part was I was put on thyroid medication and I came here and I decided, okay, I'm gonna not take it and see where I'm at because I wanted to know the true measurements and not just something that's covered up with the medication that I'm taking.
Right. I get that.
I went supposedly into hypo where my mom was hyper. So
Yeah.
her thyroid had to be destroyed because otherwise she wouldn't have made it. And in my case, it was just I was gaining weight, I was sluggish and whatever. So I stopped taking it and I went to see my family doctor that I then had here, or that I have here. And he's like, "Why did you do that?" And I'm like, "Because I wanted to know what's going on." So we do the test and it comes back, I don't need it.
Oh,
6 months later, I get to a naturopath, and it was mainly because I had brain fog and I was not feeling well. But I figured I test a naturopath, and she did dark field blood analysis and dry blood, and came back. Your adrenals are completely shot. It was never the thyroid; it was the adrenals that were not working. First diagnosis of burnout, right?
absolutely.
And got and I got adrenal support, and within 3 days I had my brain back. I was functioning. I was like able to go and do my life and be myself and not be like the zombie that doesn't know where's left and right. I don't know how I drove 80 kilometers one way because
God,
I
it's
had often days I got to work and didn't remember how. I got home and didn't remember how. That nothing happened in that time. Yeah, I got speeding tickets in that time, that's for sure. But that nothing happened otherwise was amazing. Like looking back at that time, I'm like, holy crap, where were you? You were not there.
no.
And
It's so often that women go to doctors, and yeah, that they need to go to more specialists, in my opinion. But that is my personal opinion. We need to go to an endocrinologist, for example, or we need to go to another type of specialist and get second opinions, third opinions.
yeah,
And
or as you said, have the team where mine then became naturopath, nutritionist, Reiki practitioner. No, not Reiki, reflexology. And
uh-huh,
all of them shared their results, and then the naturopath would go the better way, right?
right, right.
Because there's a bigger picture. The other part that nobody saw, what that I had a complete misalignment in my teeth, and my dentist here thankfully is working holistically, so he said you should see a craniosacral specialist.
Oh, the massage within your skull or in your mouth and
Yeah,
around.
yeah, but it was so interesting to see that my dentist sent me there, right? And
Yeah.
he was realizing the clenching, and then I don't know how the Epsom salts came in, but I realized somewhere in between I realized that if I used the Epsom salts in the morning in the foot bath, I had maximum 1 day of headache, if at all, where before it was like it would start before I just 3 days before I started my menstruation. It would start with a headache and it would go for 3 days to a week. And that was the time where what I told you, I took in the worst at the worst times, I took 14 days, 40 ibuprofen and 40 Robux just to work, right?
That's
Because you,
80 pills. I would be. I can't.
Yes, yes.
I
And then you start getting to know your body and getting to realize what's going on in your body. And all of a sudden, you realize you take an ibuprofen or you take the Robax and you get heart palpitations,
Mm-hmm.
right? So these days
And
it's
you get
still
anxious about that.
it's
On
it's
top of that.
it's not what you want, right? But the part was like I didn't pay attention to what was going on in my body and I didn't listen to. These days when there's anything going on, the first thing that I check is what do I crave, like food wise. My eating habits are a lot based on what I need at that time. So menopause, all of a sudden I'm eating sesame like crazy. And my naturopath goes, "Yeah, you're sure you're detoxing the estrogen because it's a progesterone enhancer, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's," but it was just like I had to have it like in by the handful. Like she said, "Yeah, because you needed it." Same thing when I
Then you
crave
really have
chocolate, it's magnesium, right? It's there's so many things that you can go with the food. Supplements is the same for me, but it's I learned to listen. That's the big
yes.
part.
And that's what I was asking you, what you meant by listen. But I love the part about the nutrition because not just, okay, go to Whole Foods here, it's Whole Foods or one of those stores and just start buying every jar that says, oh, it fixes this. It's like, no,
No,
look into what is in that substance, that particular thing, learn about it, read about it, ask about it. Because it's really, really important. I mean, I remember when, I'm postmenopause now, TMI on this podcast, but I remember before when I was on, when I had my menstruation, my period, like clockwork, once a month, I wanted dairy so bad, and I wanted liver, I wanted spinach. My body would
iron,
crave it.
iron, iron.
As I got older, I realized why. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yes, absolutely. People say, "Oh, I need chocolate." It's like you need love.
Now, chocolate is actually magnesium. It's proven when you eat magnesium, you don't eat chocolate. That's the fun part.
Don't tell everybody. It's just easier. But where was I going with this? But
Listening to
before
your
that,
body. Listening to
listening to your body. When some people, when you said you weren't listening to your body the first time, I was like, well, is it that you didn't hear it? You didn't feel the symptoms, and you explained to me, it's like, oh no, you felt the symptoms. Your body was talking to you, asking you for something, telling you to do something, and you decided not to do it for whatever reason you had. Now, most people don't listen to their bodies because they figure, okay, well, I'll trust that this medicine will help, or I'm too busy. It's always, I'm
I'm
too
too
busy.
busy. I can't. I
I'm
don't
too
have
busy.
time.
Yeah.
That's not true. That's just my mind. Like that's just what was it? One of my favorite ones is like, yeah, I'm just going crazy. That's one of the things. Yeah. No, you're not. Like your body talks to you, and your body talks to you a lot. And if you learn to listen to your body, you can actually apply that. That's what we do in bioenergetic wellness. We call it now muscle monitoring or bioenergetic feedback instead of muscle testing. So we use
Oh,
the
interesting.
body and see use the body as a pendulum, for instance, or use your breath. Like when you look at things to find out what you just have to learn to ask the right questions. That's the only thing.
And
But
and the more you ask and the more people you ask, the more you discover. Don't
yeah,
be afraid to ask and don't be afraid to talk. You're not going to insult anyone.
no,
Not a decent person, not anybody who's not threatened. And that's why when I was a personal trainer, and I still am a certified personal trainer, and I still have clients, but now I'm mostly focusing on habit coaching and life coaching. And it's interesting because habits enter every area of your life, and most people come to me like about their career or relationship or burnout, or they want a career transition. And self care always works its way into that, and
it's an
and people,
integral part.
yeah. And well, every aspect of your life is a subset of the other aspect of your life. But what I was saying when I was a personal trainer is people would tell me that they didn't have time for more self-care or more working out. So it's like, okay, well, let's find out the minimum you can do. The absolute minimum when you're at your most lethargic or your busiest or your lowest, whatever. What will you do? Because often we are thrown a lot of diets, detoxes, challenges, systems, processes, programs, plans, supplements, all of that. It's like, oh my God, what? Which one works? It's like, well, what? Minimalize it. What will you do that's priority? If you have to take something or you want to do something, what can you do at the very least?
Hmm.
And for example, one example of self-care. I thought that I was the biggest loser because I just could not understand or reach that Zen. For decades, I thought that Zen and meditating was nothing. I thought it was void, zero, and I could never reach that. I'm like, what? I'm still thinking, what do I have to do? My grocery list, or I would fall asleep. So I tried, I took classes, all of that, went to meditation groups, and I just couldn't. And I'm like, God, what is wrong with me? When I did more digging, it's like it's not that your brain's not working and you're in a void, it's that you're in the present. Whatever that is, whatever thought enters your mind, that's the present. I'm like, okay. And I realized even back then, like 20 years ago, I was in that presence the most when I danced. I felt every single cell in my body. I believe it or not, I almost felt like I could feel my muscles turning and twisting, from within. And when I walked, like on the beach, because I used to live near the coast, I was so into actually feeling the breath going in and out of my lungs, and I felt my muscles. So in my personal training, when I work out, often people find me like when I work out myself, when I'm weightlifting, my eyes are closed. It's because I'm like, oh, I realize it's because I'm connecting from the inside out. Now I'm a very pragmatic person. I'm not all woo woo. And I know you are, but it's like, no, I
No,
actually feel
you gotta say, you say woo woo, but the fun part in that is I was not woo woo. I was for the longest time, I was not, and I'll tell you the story in a second. So,
okay.
um,
No, but I actually, I joke around with my clients like, okay, let's get all woo woo, connect from within. But you do, and you can, just pay attention. So in myself, when I help people with self-care, we find what they can do because people come to me like, I have no time for self-care. I'm like, well, what is self-care? And they have this idea, this 20 minutes of yoga or meditation or journaling. I've had so many people that are like, I can't journal. I just write the same thing, blah blah blah. It's like, okay, well, let's find out what you can do. And for me, and I'm not saying this is for everyone, I found out if I just want to take a minute in the morning, because you see all these self-care routines that you end up spending 20 minutes in the morning. It's like, I don't have time for that. So I do 1 minute of EFT. Literally, you're tapping on your body, which is physical, so you feel it, because I'm very somatic, and you're talking to yourself about what you want to talk about.
mm,
So you can't be thinking about anything other than what you're talking about. So you are so present. See, that works for me. But we find what works for that person. And often they're very surprised that self-care can take maybe a minute.
yeah, one of the easiest things that I give my clients is take a deep breath into your belly and then breathe out of your feet. Where most people don't even question me about that. I'm always like, you're not questioning that you have to breathe out of your feet. But the fun part in that is with the breath in, you bring yourself back together from everything
Yeah.
that's frazzled outside and disturbed outside. Because our everyday life is busy. It's humming, there's light fixtures
Yeah.
that hum, the computers and whatever. So there's all those things that take you apart. And then you bring yourself back in with a deep breath into your belly, and breathing out of your feet means just you direct the energy flow out of your feet,
I just did it right now, like 2 times.
which is grounding. And when I work with somebody and do like to a therapeutic touch, I put my hands on the shoulders, and with the third breath, you can feel the shoulders drop. So they're
And there's,
they're present, right?
yes.
With the meditation, what you said was so funny because when I started meditating, and that's what I wanted to say, when I was 6, about that time, my parents got divorced, and somewhere around that time, I somehow developed a caretaker personality for
Yeah.
myself, which I literally called business. And a friend of mine heard that story, heard me talking about that, and she said, you're talking about two persons in your life, in your brain." I said, "Yeah, yeah. I talk about healer, which is my nature, which is my base personality, and then business is the one who kept nature safe, healer safe for the longest time, right?" And fun part in that is when I started my singing bowl training and my sound training, one of my co-students said, I cannot believe that you can do the work you do. You're such a brain person.
Oh, you can
And
be,
yeah,
yeah.
but the fun part was I couldn't even talk about what the singing bowls do for the longest time because I felt so much like a fraud.
Mm,
And
yeah.
these days, I'm me. I know what I've experienced. I know what I've seen happening in clients and what happens with me. But the singing bowls for me were the first time where I could be me in a session, where I didn't have to be. And then I had meditation teachers who said, "Well, you're neglecting yourself and you're pulling yourself out of the process because you fall asleep." What they didn't take in consideration, my brain couldn't cope with what they were telling me because they were too focused on what they gave me. So when I do meditations, my meditations are all open and possibility. I might guide you towards a door or an opening, and I said there might be a door. What is the door? What does it look like? What do you find? Not there's a red door and you have the golden handle and you have to go through, because you lose me at red door because I cannot grab, my brain is not able to see that red door.
Yeah.
So you're already shutting me out. So my brain goes in sleep because I cannot cope with what you throw. And having put that shame on me in the beginning, nearly made me quit meditations. But then I learned with the singing bowls, I don't need words. I can just be. The singing bowls have the unique ability to catch you, and they won't let you hold on to any thoughts. So you're getting to that point where you're just you and nothing else matters. And you're getting to the presence. You're getting to
Yeah.
yourself. You're coming back to yourself. And that's where I found the way that I work when I work in person with somebody. I have a zero gravity chair. I have the singing bowls underneath. I have singing bowls on top, somatic, sonosomatic experience. And then
Yeah.
either the person can sleep or we can talk about whatever you want to talk. And then I can tie in whenever I hear stressors in their voice, because working with sound, I'm used to hear if it's getting pressed or high pitched or whatever. And then I can tie in with questions and then we start picking that apart. But the work is always the work of the client, not of mine. I'm just a
That is
guide.
so, it's so important. You said
Yeah.
that too. And that resonates with me, like I told you about my meditation. And I we're not putting down doctors. My dad was a doctor, my mom was a nurse, and we're not putting down meditation, the traditional. What we're saying here is that you have to find, if it doesn't feel right, if it doesn't resonate, if it's not working for you, find what does. And if you don't know what, that's what people are here to help you with. And it's interesting that you said you hear in their voice. When I'm coaching someone, I can always hear, and I've always been about sound as well. I can always hear the voice get different. The breathing is different when they're really starting to dig deep and they're starting to make realizations and get clarity within themselves, because that's what coaches do. We help people really find it for themselves and find the answers for themselves.
Mm.
And they need the prompting to be real and to be raw and to go deeper and deeper. And it's more than ahas, moment of ahas. It's like, tell yourself the truth. And when, instead of, I don't know, or I think, or I guess, like, you do know.
Yeah.
And
The
we press in a gentle way, but we hear, we listen for those cues of, oh, and we know what to ask to get you to open up more and more and more. And it's not like therapy. But when their voice changes, like you said, the sound of it, how they're breathing, and their whole demeanor, they have a more either excited or calm look on their face as they're talking.
I had a nice session with one of the vendors. I was at the last market, and she was in pain, and then she said, "Can we work?" I said, "Come on, sit in the chair. Let's have." And I usually don't take the zero gravity chair that often with me at markets because it's too busy. But I had it with me and I said, "Come on." And then in 10 minutes, her face, her back pain lessened because the tension went, but her face looked like you used one of those softening filters. It was like from
Yeah,
this to
yeah,
this.
yeah,
And 10 years younger. And that's often with the sound, you have that often because just the tension out of just leaves the body. They can let go and they can't hold on, which is even more important. They can't hold on to anything, which is very interesting. And I find, especially with mental health, as soon as you work with somebody who is, be that burnout, be that depression, anxiety, whatever you have,
yeah,
as soon as PTSD, as soon as you give them the space to be what they need to be and where they need to be, they can bloom. They can become whatever they want to be and whatever they're drawn to be, and not being boxed into, first of all, their diagnosis, second of all, the stigma of having a mental health diagnosis. They can be just in a judgment-free room space, safe space, where they can just grow out of and evolve out of what they are been put into the beautiful person that they are. And that's so amazing to see when you just, like, I don't do much. I'm just there guiding along. I'm not the one
Yes,
pushing. I'm not the one telling you
right.
you have to do this or whatever. Yes, I have tools that I might have you use, but in the end it's your own work and your own words, and then you come out of there and you look so different.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
interesting because I do ask people, what do you think will work? People are so used to going to doctors and whoever, a service
Yep.
provider, and
Yep.
just being written a prescription or being told, use this process, use this supplement, use this detox, whatever, or buy this package, whatever. And I ask people, what do you think will work to have you do this at night? For example, stretch at night 1 minute. What do you think will activate that? Or what do you think will work for you to calm you down? I ask people, what do you think? And they're surprised because they think you're going to tell them, okay, do this, use the sound ball or do this. And so I start getting them to I'm like, throw spaghetti on the wall. What are some possibilities? And that's in mostly creating habits. It's like, give me 10 things that you could do for an action that will start forming into a habit, because habits are second nature. They're natural. They're a systemized process that goes so rapid fire in the front of your brain that you don't think about it anymore. We weren't born with our habits. We were conditioned, and we conditioned ourselves all our lives. And
Yep.
like you said, busy mind, the busy, 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 busy comes from all this stuff we have in front of us, all this colors and bells and whistles, computers and sounds, and especially visual. So I ask people, what do you think? And they come up with ideas, and they always think that they can do two or three of them, because we rank them, we rate them. Are they efficient? Are they enjoyable? Are they, we rank them. And they're like, well, I could do two or three of those things. Like, how about just one? And they're like, what good does that do? Well, that's just it. Slow down. The slower you go toward progressing toward building that habit that is second nature, and you don't think about it and it drives you, the slower you go, the faster you'll get there.
Yep.
So just focus on one thing, one tiny action that will form into a habit at a time. And let's put on our white lab coat. It's an experiment. Give it 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, because people want results fast. Like, well, we didn't grow into all our habits in 1 week
No.
since we were born. It takes time. And then there's the whole process of building a habit, reinforcement. Make sure that you have all the resources available, whatever it is you need for that habit. Make sure you tell people if you need support or to not get in your way. Don't bring those donuts into the break room or whatever it is. Um, celebrate accountability, reprogram your brain by celebrating that action, that tiny little action. But back to their questions, what good would that do if it's a tiny action? It's like, it's not how much you do, it's that you do it at the same time or whatever it would. Usually it's the same bat time, same bat channel, and always put a backup. In other words, I'm going to do this every single day. And if you do it every single day, even if it's one tiny action that takes 30 seconds or one thing that takes a minute or 5 minutes, when people are like, well, what good is working out only 5 minutes a day? That's going from 0 to 5 minutes, right? It's like, well, it's not how much you do at this point. If you're trying to form a habit, it's that you do it every single day and you celebrate it. And your brain starts going, like, let's say I'm on my way to do it. You say it somatically, you hear your voice, you feel that breath coming out of your lungs and comes out as a voice, and you're declaring, I'm on my way. Even if you hate it, say, I hate it and I'm doing it anyway, and I've had people do that. It's like, oh, I hate doing this. It's like, yeah, you do. Don't deny it. Don't go all positive Pollyanna. Yeah, you hate it and you're doing it. And that always softens it, and they start getting into it and they don't hate it anymore. So when you're declaring it, I'm on my way, I'm doing it, I did it, even if it's just like a flat, I did it. But when you say it out loud, or even better, you write it and you say it, or you do a happy dance, when you're saying it, that goes around your head and through both ears, and your brain goes, noted.
Mm-hmm.
capable,
Yep.
doing it.
Yep.
So you start reprogramming. So the thing is the frequency and the consistency, not how much. People always want to take on big programs, big things, big supplements, big processes. It's like start small when you're trying to recondition yourself
Yeah.
and celebrate it. That's what I call accountability because it's
It,
more joyous.
it's so interesting that you say that because I used to do Tai Chi, and being too busy, I fell out of it, which I somehow find like kind of sad because I love Tai Chi, the movements and everything, and I don't do it by myself. But the fun part in that was that I was overdoing it every time I did it. So instead
Oh,
of going with no effort,
yeah, because you
I
think
went,
you can
and
push it.
then my muscles would go like, no, you're not. So I couldn't breathe anymore, right? So I would stretch too far and my whole back would just shut down, would just tense
Oh,
up.
no.
Yeah, the point being, my body was telling me you're overdoing it, right? You're going into that stress phase again. You're pushing it too far because you and what I find is people often come, and especially when you work with sound, people often come with the 440 and 432 hertz theory, and I say I don't care because resonance doesn't care about a hertz number. It cares about how you feel inside. If it makes you smile, then it's okay for you. If it's not, then if it doesn't make you smile, then let keep your fingers off. Because if you're not resonating, same thing if you have a so-called professional that's working with you that's highly rated and whatever, but you're not clicking with that person, that's not the right person for you.
Right.
Same with exercises. Everybody says, "Oh, you have to do whatever aerobics, high impact, whatever." If you don't feel well with it, it doesn't fit to you. So find something else. I had
Yes, be open-minded. Yes, give things a try
try it and whatever,
and
but
stick with it for a little bit to see, but then you
yeah,
know, and then you
the
listen to
the
yourself.
other
It's not
part,
that, oh, I don't like it. It's more
yeah,
like, oh, this is hurting me or it's not working.
yeah. The other
Yeah.
part is too, all those high, like especially when you're in stress and burnout, all those high impact and marathon running, whatever you have, are adrenal pumpers, and you're in stress already. You don't want to do that. You want to slow down. You want to be consistent. So hiking, walking, whatever is fine. Um, but people don't see that they go from one stressor basically into something else that's creating more stress in their life. Even so, it's an adrenal high, but they're still
Yeah.
staying in that adrenal problem of being too high in
Yeah.
their cortisol and whatever they have, stress hormones. Same with cold plunges. If you're somebody who has had high impact stress, you want to be gentle, you want to be soft. Get first to the point where you recovered and where your body can go like, yeah, I know what it feels like to be relaxed and not full of adrenaline and
Yeah.
whatever. And then go for the rest. But give yourself that time to get to the point where I can take a breath and I'm fine with it. Instead of I have to go, I have to go, I have to go. Right? How deep do you breathe when you run?
No, it's very shallow breathing.
See,
Yeah.
one of the big things that we need is breathing. And
Yeah,
when
deep
we're
breathing.
stressed, we usually don't breathe deep. We just keep our
Did
breath
you know,
or very shallow.
I found this out recently, and I always wondered why. I just didn't like the cold, the ice baths and all that. I'm like, oh my God, that's for the birds. It's because women tolerate cold better than men. We don't shiver. Men can get in there and go, oh, this is great. And they start to shiver right away. Well, yeah, they have more testosterone and other hormones are acting differently on their glands, but we have more brown fat. Therefore, we don't shiver. We're like really protecting ourselves and it's uncomfortable.
Mhm.
But they start to shiver to create energy, right? So they're burning calories. We're not that you get into an ice bath or anything like that to burn calories, but I found that out reading this about 2 weeks ago. I'm like, well, that makes all the sense in the world. Yeah. But women, what they get jealous of men. It's like, how can you do that? It's like, well, we're not tiny
Why
men.
do you need to? Why do you need to? That's my question. I like um sometimes I like cold showers. Sometimes I don't.
I
No,
have
it's
to because
it's
I've
actually
had to.
it's nice, but doesn't have to be that cold. It's just cold enough to have the difference and not
Exactly.
to shock my system. But I also like, I like the sauna, and having Ayurvedic training. Our Ayurvedic training was always emphasizing keep your head out of the heat,
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
So I usually go into a sauna when it's like 60 degrees, and then I amp it up to 95, and I can stay in the sauna for a long time because it gradually increases. It's not that hit you in the face heat, right?
Yeah.
But I don't do cold plunges afterwards.
If people
I
just
do a
do
lukewarm
extremes
shower,
that,
and then I go out in the air, and but I gradually calm down and don't. The other part in that is in the Ayurveda, you open the pores in order to detox. So you want to get rid of whatever's inside. But when you do that cold shower or cold plunge after the sauna, you're actually shutting your pores. Everything that you just open up to detox closes
Mhm.
down and keeps it all in there. So it's kind of creating more havoc. So yeah, different approaches, but it's always what works for you and what doesn't. That's the question.
Yeah, what do you
So
enjoy?
try it, become the child, and just try it out and say, "Yay, that makes me happy and that's cool, and I'll do that." Or say, "No, it's not me."
And
Right? And
just because it works, just because your best girlfriend says, "Oh, but this is wonderful," it doesn't mean it's going to be wonderful for you, and
no.
that's fine.
Yeah. No, but it's interesting how many people go with like somebody else's opinion
Yeah.
and don't think about it, don't make it their own, don't take it and test it and say yes it works, or it works partially for me and not that part doesn't work for me. And it doesn't matter which area you take, it be that exercises, be that a health food, whatever you take, um everything that's published basically is somebody's opinion. It might be proven on their part. And studying and doing my master's, I have done research. I know, I've
Mhm.
seen the things that you can do with research, because you can pick, you basically can, not saying that they do,
Well,
but you can
any
pick and
thesis.
choose the data that you want, right?
Yeah,
That's
you
the
can use the
fact of
data
it.
to prove any thesis at all.
Yes.
Yeah, you really
And
can.
there's always the odd one out. So there's no, that's what I learned over the years. There's no one for all. There's always just you.
Yeah.
And it works for you or it doesn't. But the only person who can find out if it works for you or not are you.
And you can get help in figuring it out. But yes,
Yeah.
you're the ultimate. That's what I love about coaching. Not yeah, there's a place for consultants. I want a financial consultant. I want my financial planner to tell me what to do. I tell them that,
Tech,
or whatever. Um,
software, whatever, all of that.
I want counsel. When I want counsel, I want counsel. And when I want a mentor, that's totally different. But what I love about coaching is that you're not telling them what to do, and you're not instructing them what to do. You're asking and you're helping them explore, what do you want to do? And most people just aren't used to that, being asked and having to think about it and having to research and having to be in touch with themselves, and so I love that coaching does just that. It prompts you. You're already there. You're who you are. You're already on the team. Now let's, like I liken it to a soccer team. The coach just stands on the sideline, watches the practice, and then does the video. Then they go back. That player's already on the team. Let's watch the video. What were you feeling? What were you thinking? Why'd you do that? They make the player figure it out.
If
You
they're a
know,
good coach, let's say it this way.
if they're a
They're a
good
good
coach,
coach.
yeah.
Yeah.
If
No,
you prompt
that's
them, you may give them suggestions if they ask, just to get them going. But ultimately, you're not the guru. I'm wary about gurus, and that's the only piece of advice if anybody ever asked me. It's like, no one is your guru. You
Mhm.
are.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen to yourself. That's like, and again, it comes back. What does your gut tell you? Do you smile? Does it make your heart open or not? So the physical cues are there, however you want to describe them, as woo woo or whatever. But basically, the only one who can tell if it feels right for you or not is you. And it doesn't have to be a feeling right. It can be any kind of sense, because what we learned through the years is that your energetic information doesn't just come in as feeling, it comes in any kind of awareness, any kind of sense can be applied. You can hear a sound, you can taste something, you can smell something. Restricting yourself just to the feeling is sometimes kind of hard for people because they go like, but I have no feeling in my fingers. I have no, like mine is gut feeling and pictures, for instance, right? And hearing. I often, and I cannot say it's that I hear a certain song or sound. I just can hear in the way that something sounds, if it's sounding right or not.
You hear between the lines. You know how people read between.
Say it this way. Yeah. Love that.
I've always thought, well, I have for many, many years, that if you feel within yourself that something's off or something's wrong, there probably is. You're not being a hypochondriac.
No.
There probably is.
Same thing. If it takes away your breath in a not good way, like not saying that love can't take a break, that would be the nice way. But if it takes your breath away, it puts you in stress because you're tightening up, and that's your body telling you something's wrong. But what do? We ignore it. We push through, right? So, Ronnie, it's great. We have, I think, almost 40 minutes or something like that, just chatting. And I love chatting with you because there's so much stuff coming up. So thank you for joining. If anybody's interested in working with you, I will share your information in the caption. And then if anybody resonates with you, I hope they reach out and find you and work with you or me or whoever. But yeah, it's the neat thing of having the ability to have open conversations and not having to go with a fixed topic or fixed question catalog that will not allow for discussions like that today to come forward. And
thank you so much. Like you said, we can sit here and have another cup of coffee and keep going. But thank you. I really appreciate it. And yeah, if anyone wants to talk about any aspect of their life and see how we could work together, and I know that sounds really general, and it always comes down to you can work. You're never too old, and it's never too late. No matter what aspect of your life you're talking about, you always can gain control, and it can be easier.
The only one who can take control is you. You can take back your life. You just have to choose. That's the part, right? So thank you, Ronnie. I'm seeing you soon in one of our networks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thoughts are racing, spinning fast. Ideas flow, but never last. Waves of wonder, thoughts untamed. Nothing ever stays the same. Rambling on, no straight lines. Welcome to my busy mind. Ideas fade, all the shine. Oh, welcome to my busy mind. Questions, answers, here they go. Digging deep, let's start the show. Questions, answers, here they go.